Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to ASTC. This is Cambridge IGCSE Mathematics 0580. So today we will be working through February March 2025 paper 22. So this is the first exam paper where after the syllabus was updated. Okay. So let's get started. Now, calculators must not be used in this paper. Okay, so this is a non-calculator based paper, so you are not allowed to use calculator throughout the exam. Okay, oranges cost 220 rupees per kilogram. Work out the cost of 9 kilograms of these oranges. Okay, so we know that 1 kilogram costs 220 rupees. So what will be the cost for 9 kg of these oranges? So if 1 kg is equal to 220 rupees, then 9 kg will be equal to 220 multiplied by 9. Okay, so I'm going to multiply 22 by 9. 9 twos are 18. Again, 9 twos are 18 plus 1, which becomes 19. So 198, and then I'm going to add a 0 at the end. All right, so the cost will be 1980 rupees. Question number 2. Aryan goes on a journey. He leaves home at 11:40 and arrives at 14:18. Okay, find how many hours and minutes the journey took. So this is the starting time. Okay, this is the time at which he left the house, and this is the time at which he arrived. Okay, to his destination. So now there are different ways that you can approach this type of question, but the way that I personally like is your starting time is 11:40, so you need to find what is the nearest hour. Okay, the nearest hour will be 12 o'clock. So how much time is it? So how many minutes does it take to reach the nearest hour? That is 20 minutes. Okay, now how many more hours do we need to add into this? So from 12 o'clock, I need to go to 14 o'clock. So that is equal to 2 hours. How many more minutes do I need to add in order to get the arrival time? So this is from 14 o'clock. I need to go until 14:18. So that is 18 minutes. All right. So now you add them up. So that will be 2 hour, and 20 plus 18 will give us 38 minutes. Okay. So the duration will be 2 hour, 38 minutes. Question number 3. A quadrilateral has one line of symmetry. The diagonals of the quadrilateral cross at right angles. Write down the mathematical name of the quadrilateral. Okay, now the quadrilaterals that are part of your syllabus are as follows. You have square, rectangle, parallelogram, rhombus, trapezium, and kite. Okay, so these are the four main quadrilaterals whose properties you should be well aware of. Okay, so now if I only focus on this property first, it says that it has only one line of symmetry. So clearly we can eliminate square and rectangle. Okay, because they can have two lines of symmetry. Okay, parallelogram does not have any line of symmetry, so that's also eliminated. Rhombus also has two lines of symmetry. Okay, now then we have trapezium and we have kite. Okay, so they both can have one line of symmetry. So let's see. The second property is that diagonals of the quadrilateral cross at right angles. Okay, now only one of the quadrilateral fits in with both of these properties, and that is kite. Okay, so if I draw a kite, so it is something like this. All right. Now, if I'm to draw a line of symmetry, so there could be only one line of symmetry, which is this. And if let's say that if I'm planning to draw diagonals, okay, so that'll be the first diagonal. The second diagonal is going to be over here. So you can see that diagonals, they intersect at 90 degrees at right angles. Okay, that is not the case for trapezium. All right. So now let's move to question number 4. V is equal to 4mp squared. Find V when m is equal to 10 and p is equal to minus 3. So here we just need to substitute the values. So in place of m, I'm going to write 10, and p squared, that will be minus 3 squared. 4 times 10, that will be 40, and minus 9 squared, that will be 9. 9 times 4 is equal to 36, and then I'm just going to add 0 at the end. So the answer is going to be 360. Then it says find the positive value of p when v is equal to 3200 and m is equal to 2. So let me write the original formula first. The original equation is v equals 4mp squared. Before I can plug in the values, I should make p the subject of the formula. Okay, so I'm going to divide both sides by 4m, so that 4m will be shifted on that side, equals to p squared. Then I'm going to take square root both sides. So p is equal to plus minus v upon 4m. Because the question tells you that we just need to find the positive value, therefore I'm going to get rid of this. Or maybe what I can do is I can write this, right? But when I'm substituting the values, I'll only consider the positive value, all right? Now, so the value of v is 3200, and divide by 4m, m is 2. So 4 times 2 will be 8. So 3200 divided by 8. Okay, so 32 divided by 8, that is 4. So your answer is going to be square root of 400, which turns out to be 20. Okay, because we know that 20 times 20 gives us 400. All right, so therefore square root of 400 will be equal to 20. All right, question number 5. Write these lengths in order of size starting with the smallest. Now you have 4 different units used to describe a distance, right? Now what we can do here is we can pick one unit and convert the rest of the other units according to that one unit. So for example, if I say that, okay, I want all the readings to be, all the values to be in meters. So I need to convert all of the other dimensions in meters. Okay, so and meters is actually a much more suitable option because you can go back to centimeters easily. You can go back to kilometers quite easily. Okay, you can even go back to millimeters quite easily. That it's not that difficult. But let's say that if I want to convert everything into kilometers, it might be easier to convert from meters to kilometers. But centimeter and millimeters are much smaller units. Okay, so that you might get a bit stuck while doing the conversions. Okay, so if let's say I stick to meters, 2.9 centimeter, we know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So by extension, that means 1 centimeter is equal to 1 upon 100 meters. So 2.9 centimeter would be equal to 2.9 divided by 100. Okay, so if I shift the decimal place 2 places on the left, so I would get 0.029 meters. Okay, so that means this will be 0.029 meters. Let me write this as 0.030 so that it is easier to compare. I'm going to write all of them into 3 decimal places. Then 32 millimeters. Okay, if I can convert this into centimeter, if 1 centimeter is equal to 1 over 100 meters, then we know that 1 millimeter is equal to 1 upon 10 centimeters. Okay, so if you convert this 1 upon 10 centimeters multiplied by 1 over 100, so in total you would get 1 upon 1000 meters. So the conversion factor between millimeter and meters is going to be 1 over 1000 meters. So if I have 32 millimeters, so that would be, so I'm just going to multiply 32 over 1000. So that would give us 0.032 meters. Okay, so I'm going to shift the decimal place three places. Sorry, I'm going to shift the decimal point three places to the left. So it's here, one, two, and then another. So therefore, it's going to become 0.032 meters. So let me write that down as here as well. And kilometers. So we know that 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meters. Therefore, 0.00002 kilometers will be equal to, so you just multiply them by 1000. You can directly multiply. So you're going to shift the decimal point three places to the right, 1, 2, and 3. So therefore, you would get 0.02 meters. Okay. Now, since all of these values are in the same units, now it is quite easy to compare them, right? So because we need to arrange them by smallest first, the smallest is going to be this one. After that is going to be this one. Then this is number 3, and this is number 4. Now, make sure that while you're writing on the blank, you do not write the values which have been converted. Okay, not the converted values, but you have to write the original values. So if this is 1, so I'm going to write here 0.00002 kilometers. On the second blank, I'm going to write 2.9 centimeters. On the third one, I'm going to write 0.03 meters. And on the fourth one, it would be 32 millimeters. All right, that was question number 5. Now let's move to question number 6. Work out the area of trapezium. Okay, so we know that area of trapezium is equal to half into sum of parallel sides multiplied by the height between them, or the distance between the parallel sides. Okay, so that will be, the first parallel side is going to be this one or this one. You can choose any one. So one of them is 9, the other is 15. So you can see that these are the parallel sides. So that will be 9 plus 15 multiplied by the distance between these parallel sides, which is 8 centimeters. Okay, so I can simplify this 2 with 8. So this becomes 4 and this becomes 1. 9 plus 15, that will be 24 multiplied by 4. Okay, so 24 times 4 will give us, 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 2 is 8 plus 1, so 96. So therefore, the answer is going to be 96 centimeters squared. All right, question number 7. Write down the inequality for x represented on the number line. Okay, now whenever you write an inequality, it is always in this form, where if you have two spots, right, you can see that that this is a closed, it's not an open-ended one, it's a closed limit, right? So you have a limit over here and you have a limit over here. So that means it has to be somewhere in between. Okay, now I've only put this here just to show you, but I'm not quite sure yet that if I'm going to include the equal to sign or not. So let me just write this one first. This is minus 3. So x is between minus 3 and 4. Okay, but you can notice something, that this is a hollow circle. Okay, this is a hollow circle and this is a solid circle. Now, a hollow circle means that this value is not included within the inequality. Okay, it is not included within the range of values. Whereas a solid circle means that this value is included. This is inclusive. So therefore, I'm going to write here less than or equal to. So that's my answer. That x is between minus 3 and 4, where 4 is inclusive. Question number 8. Priyanka plays a game in which she can win lose, or draw. The table shows the probability of her winning or losing a game. So the probability that she wins is 0.3, the probability that she loses is 0.25, and the probability that the game draws is unknown. It says complete the table. So now something that we must be aware of is that the sum of probability of all the outcomes, sum of probability of all the outcomes, all the possible outcomes is always equal to 1. Okay, so therefore I can say that 0.3 plus 0.25 plus x, let's say that this is x, is equal to 1. So we can say that 0.3 plus 0.25, that is 0.55 plus x is equal to 1. X is equal to 1 minus 0.55, and that would give us 0.45. Okay, so therefore the probability that a game would draw is 0.45. Now it says Priyanka plays this game 120 times. Work out the expected number of games she wins. The word expected number basically means that, okay, what is the average number of times the out of 120, what is the average number of wins that she can have? Okay, so basically what we do is we multiply the probability of win with the number of times that she played the game. So that will be expected wins is equal to 0.3 multiplied by 120. Okay, now since the calculator is not allowed, so what we can do is if I shift this decimal point one place to the right, I can write this as 3 over 10 multiplied by 120. I can cancel this 0, so 3 times 12 is equal to 36. Okay, so out of 120, it is expected that she is going to win 36 games. Okay, but still, this is just an expected value, just an estimate. Okay. All right. Question number 9. By writing each number correct to one significant figure, work out an estimate for D. Okay. So here, what we can do here is we need to write every value to one SF, and then we work out the square and the square root. Okay, so 1.95, if it is telling me to work it out to one SF, so in 1.95, 1 is going to be the first SF, right? So I'm going to check the next digit, which is 9. So since this is greater than 5, 1 will be added over here, and this becomes 2. Okay, similarly we have 9 and the next digit is greater than 5, so again 1 is going to add over here, so I'm going to write this 10 squared. Okay, do not forget the squared. 8.07, again 8 is the first digit, and I'm going to check the next one. Since the next digit is less than 5, okay, 8 will remain as it is. So here this is how we have written all of them to 1 SF. Now what we can do is we can cancel this. So this becomes 1, this becomes 4. 10 squared is 100 divided by 4. 100 divided by 4, that gives us root 20. Sorry, my bad. Root 25. Okay, and square root of 25 gives us 5. All right, so 5 is the answer. Now make sure that you show this working because this is worth 3 marks, right? So you have to show each of these digits being written to 1 SF before you start squaring or taking square root. All right, so let's move to question number 10. It says that polygon A and polygon B and polygon C, right? So these are three different polygons. Three regular polygons meet at a point. Okay, so this is the point where they meet. The interior angles of the polygons are in the ratio A ratio B ratio C, which is equal to 3 ratio 4 ratio 5. Show that polygon C has twice the number of sides as polygon B. Show that polygon C has twice the number of sides as polygon B. So if let's say that this is n, this should be 2n. Okay. All right. So you can see that this is a 5-mark question. So definitely it requires a couple of steps before you reach the final answer. Okay. So one thing that I can notice immediately is that if I add up these angles, okay, so they would be equal to 360 degrees, because we know that the sum of angles at a point equal to 360 degrees. So I can say that A plus B plus C is equal to 360 degrees. How I'm going to use it, I'm not sure quite yet, but this is something that I've spotted immediately, so I should write that down. Okay. Secondly, what we also see is that the main question is about the number of sides. Okay, and this is the ratio that's given to us is of interior angles. These are not the exact angles, obviously, these are just the ratio, but they are about interior angles. So, about interior angles, we know that the sum of interior angles equal 180 times n minus 2. And if I want to find one interior angle, if I want to find only one interior angle, then I'm going to divide the sum of interior angles by the number of sides. Okay, so that would give me the interior angle of one. That would give me one interior angle. Okay, all right. So that's second thing that I can write over here. Now, what am I supposed to do with these ratios? Because this is the only important information that is given to us in the question. So about the ratios, what we know is that if I have A ratio B, I can write that down as A divided by B, which is equal to 3 upon 4. Okay. Now, because the question is about polygon C and polygon B, so what I can do is if I rearrange this A, okay, if I make A the subject of the formula, I'm going to multiply B both sides. So that will be 3 over 4B. Okay. So why did I do this? So that in this equation, I can plug in this expression 3 over 4B. Similarly, if I can also express C in terms of B, then that would leave us with only one variable, which is B. So we should be able to calculate the interior angle B. Okay, so let's see. So B ratio C is 4 ratio 5. So that means B over C is equal to 4 upon 5. Okay, I need to make C the subject of the formula. So we are going to cross multiply. 5B is equal to 4C. Therefore, C is equal to 5 upon 4B. Okay, now if I substitute these values back into this equation, so A plus B plus C is equal to 360 degrees. A was 3 over 4B, B will be as it is, and C is going to be 5 upon 4B equals to 360 degrees. Okay. Now, if I add 3 over 4B plus 5 over 4B, you can see that they have the same denominator. So I can directly add them up. So that means 3 plus 5 will be 8. So 8 over 4B plus B equals to 360 degrees. This becomes 2B plus B. So that is 3B equals 360 degrees. Therefore, B is equal to 360 divided by 3, which is 120 degrees. Okay, so we have found out our first interior angle. Now, based on this interior angle, I should be able to calculate what the number of sides. Okay, so I can say that 120 degrees is equal to 180 times n minus 2 divided by n. So n goes to the other side. So we have 120n equals to 180n minus 360. So I'm going to expand the bracket. 120 times n, that is 180n. 180, sorry, 180 times n is 180n, and 180 times minus 2, that is minus 360. This 360 goes to the other side, so it becomes positive, and 120n comes to this side. So what we have now is 180n minus 120n equals to 360. 60n is equal to 360. Therefore, n will be 360 over 60, which is 6. So that means the polygon B is a hexagon. Okay, it has 6 sides. Okay, now remember that we cannot just multiply this 2 with n, because I've read that from this question, because it says show that. So you're not supposed to use this information. You have to calculate the number of sides, and they should give us this relation. Okay, that polygon C has twice the number of sides as compared to polygon B. So I'm now going to use the same concept over here. Let me do it in a different color. Just like how I calculated the value of B, now what I can do is I can calculate the value of C as well using this expression. So I know that C is equal to 5 over 4B, which is 5 over 4 times 120. 4 and 120, they can be simplified to 30. 5 times 30 is 150 degrees. So the interior angle C is 150 degrees. So again, using the same formula, the interior angle 150 is equal to 180 times n minus 2 upon n. 150n is equal to 180n minus 360. Again, we expand the bracket, rearrange the equation. So this 150n goes to this side, and this minus 360 goes to the other side, so that it becomes positive 360. Therefore, we are left with 30n equals to 360. N is equal to 360 divided by 30. The zeros cancel out. 36 upon 3 is equal to 12. So what we notice here is that the value of n for polygon B is 6. The value of n for polygon C is 12. So we can say for polygon B, n is equal to 6. For polygon C, n is equal to 12. Therefore, twice the number of sides. Okay. All right. So let's move to the next question now. A company sells items either on a website or in shops. The composite bar chart shows the percentage of sales on the website and in shops for January, February, and March. Now, this is a composite bar chart, or this is also called a stacked bar chart. Okay, so basically, you can see that we have a white block and we have a gray block. The white block represent the sales in shops, and the gray blocks represent sales on website. Okay, and we have 3 bars, one for each of these 3 months. Okay, now the question is that in April, 17 upon 20 of the company's sales were on the website. On the grid, draw the bar for April. Okay, so it says that 17 upon 20 of the company's sales were on the website. Okay, so how many sales? So we need to find out the percentage, right? Okay, so you can see that on the y-axis we have the percentage of sales. So how do we calculate the percentage? From a fraction, 17 upon 20 multiplied by 100. So this 0 cancels with this 0, this 2 cancels with this 10, you get 5. 17 times 5 will be 35. So 5 times 7 is 35. 5 ones are 5 plus 3, 8. So that will be 85%. So 85% were on the website. So what I'm going to do is, the website is the gray bit, right? So it should be up to 85%. So this is 80. And you can notice that between 80 and 90 there are only 5 intervals, so that suggests that each one of these boxes are 2 units. Okay, so starting from here we have 80, 82, 84, and 85 should be somewhere in the middle. Okay, now remember that the width of the bar chart should be consistent with the others. Okay, so how many boxes are they covering? If I look over here, so one, two, three, four, five, six, and you can see that they've already given you the width, right? So way to start from. So that should be over here then, over here, and over here. Okay. So if I complete the bar chart now, okay, so that's the first line. Then, and then definitely you'll be using a ruler. Okay, so I cannot use a ruler over here. So more or less, this is now 85%. Okay, now you need to shade this so that you can represent that this is the one corresponding to this gray bar. Okay, and then you have to complete the bar chart by just going all the way until 100. So now since this is unshaded, this represents the sales in shops. Okay, all right. Then it says in February, the company had sales of $3.5 million. Work out the value of sales in shops in February. So the company had sales of $3.5 million. Work out the value of the sales in shops. Okay, how much percentage was the sales in shops? The shops one are the white part, right? So in February, the percentage, if you can see over here, this is 60%. The 60% represents sales on website, but we are not interested in the website, we are interested in the shops. So if this is 60%, that should be 40%. So 40% of total sales, okay, equals 40 upon 100 multiplied by 3.5 million. So 3.5 million is 10 to the power of 6. Okay, so if I cancel this, this becomes 2, this becomes 5. Okay, now what we can do here is, so if I write it over here, 2 upon 5 multiplied. Now definitely what I can see here is that 5 and 3.5, I cannot divide them directly. If only I can take this one decimal point to the right hand side, that would make my life easier, isn't it? I can write this 35, and this becomes 10 to the power of 5, because now one decimal point has been shifted. Okay, now I can cancel this. This becomes 7 and this becomes 1. So 2 times 7, that is 14, into 10 to the power of 5. Now this is not in standard form and I have to give my answer in million, right? So now my decimal point is over here. I can take this decimal point back. So this becomes 1.4 into 10 to the power of 6. 10 to the power 6 itself is million. So my answer is going to be 1.4. Okay. Part C. In May, the company had sales of $6 million. In June, the company had sales of $7.5 million. Find the percentage increase in sales from May to June. So the formula for percentage increase is the amount increased divided by the original amount multiplied by 100. The amount increased will be 7.5 minus 6 divided by 6, because 6 was the original one, right? Multiplied by 100. So that means this is 1.5 over 6 times 100. So if I multiply 1.5 with 100, that would give me 1500 over 6. Okay, now 1500 over 6 will be, if let's say I only take 150, or okay, let's just take it all anyways. So 6 times 2, that is 12. So you get 3, you take a 0 down, then you can add 5, 6 fives are 30, that is 0. You take another 0 down, and then you put a 0 over here. Okay, sorry, my bad. I think there's some arithmetic mistake. Just a second. All right. For some reason, I cannot see my erase over here. Anyhow, let me cross this out. So if we just use the conventional way, okay, 6 and 1500. Okay, if I divide by 3, so this becomes 2 and 1500 divided by 3. So we know that that will be 500. Okay, I see what the problem here is. My bad. 1.5 times 100. I thought it's 15 times 100. That should be 150 over 6. Okay, right. Now that's perfect. So that should give us 25%. Okay, now that makes sense. Okay, so this is 1.5 divided by 6 multiplied by 100. That gives us 150 over 6, and that should give us 25. So if I were to just quickly do this as well. So if I divide them by 3, so I'm going to get 2, and over here I'm going to get 50, right? Then 50 divided by 2, that will be 25%. All right. In 2024, the company had total sales of $52 million. This was an increase of 30% on the total sales for 2023. Work out the total sales in 2023. Okay, so basically here what you have to do is you need to work out what was the original value. Okay, that is what's required. So we always say that the original value is by default 100%. Okay, so if there was an increase of 30%, that would mean that 130% of X is equal to the new sales, which was $52 million. Okay, I'm not going to write million. Okay, because the million is actually the unit, right? So we don't have to write that. So I hope that this is clear. What we have done here is let the original value equals to X. Okay, the original value is always 100%. So if there was an increase of 30%, that means 130% of the original value will directly give you the new value, which is 52 million. So now all I have to do is 130 divided by 100 multiplied by X equals to 52. I can cancel this 0. This 10 goes on the other side, and 13 is also divided on the other side, right? So this becomes 52 multiplied by 10 divided by 13. So 52 and 13, if I were to, so let's see, 13 times 4, okay, because 13 times 3 is 39. So 13 times 4 will be 52, okay? So that means this becomes 1, this becomes 4, so that is 40, okay, $40 million. All right, question number 12. Write as a single fraction in its simplest form. Okay, so this is not an equation, this is an expression. Okay, what we can do here is we can first find the LCM, because here we have three different fractions. So we can take LCM. So let's say I have 4, I have 8, and I have 12. So I can write 2. So that will be 2 and 4. And in fact, I can actually take 4 directly, right? So this becomes 1, this becomes 2, and this becomes 3. So now I can just multiply. So that is 2. That should be 1, 1, 3, and you can write 3 over here. So that'll be 1, 1, 1. So this is where you stop. So 4 times 2 times 3, 4 times 2 is 8, 8 times 3 is 24. That means my denominator is going to be 24 for each one of them. Okay, all right. So what I can do here is x upon 4. So both of them will be multiplied by 6. So this becomes 6x over 4 times 6 plus 3x times 3 over 8 times 3 plus, minus x plus 2 times 2 over 12 times 2. So now each of these denominators, they become 24. So we have 6x over 24 plus 9x over 24 minus 2x. Okay, now understand this very carefully. This minus sign is being multiplied, right? So this minus 2 is not only multiplied with x, but it is also multiplied with the next 2 over here. So this becomes minus 4 over 24. And now I can combine them in one single fraction. So I have 6x plus 9x minus 2x minus 4. So that would give me 9x minus 2x is 7x, and 7 plus 6. So 7x plus 6x is 13x. 13x minus 4 upon 24. So that will be my final answer. The next part is factorize. Okay, so you can see that this part has already been factorized, right? 3x has already been factorized, but all we have to do here is we need to factorize this part of the expression. So I'm going to write this as it is. And over here, I can see that y is common, minus y. So I can write minus y. So therefore, I'll be having a plus 4y. Now, out of this, a plus 4y is common. So I can factorize that outside. What I'll be left with is 3x minus y. Okay, so this is my answer for this part of the question. A plus 4y times 3x minus y. All right, question number 13. The diagram shows a cylinder with radius r centimeters and height 16 centimeters. A sphere has radius 3 centimeters. The volume of the cylinder is equal to the volume of the sphere. Find the value of r. Okay, so you see this statement. This is the most important statement of the question because this gives you a starting point. If I write this down, volume of cylinder is equal to the volume of sphere. I know that the volume of cylinder is pi r square h and volume of sphere is 4 upon 3 pi r cubed. So I'm writing this r capital so that you don't get confused with the small r over here because these are different values. Okay. Now pi r square and the height of the cylinder is 16. Whereas over here the value of radius is 3. So this is 3 cubed. So here we have 16 pi r square. Over here we have 4 over 3 pi times the cube of 3 is 27. So 27 and 3 they'll be simplified to 9. 9 times 4 is 36. So 16 pi r square is equal to 36 pi. If I divide both sides by 16 pi, so r square is equal to 36 pi divided by 16 pi. Okay, I can cancel this. Now if I take a square root, okay, so do not simplify 36 and 16. If I directly take square root of this, so that would be 36 over 16. Square root of 36 will be, now if you recall from what you have learned, that if you have something, this is from the rules of surds, right? If you have a square root of this, so we can also write this in this form. We can split the square root into numerator and denominator. So I can individually take the square root. The square root of 36 will be 6 and the square root of 16 will be 4. If I simplify them, they become 3 over 2. So therefore the value of r is going to be equal to 3 upon 2 centimeters. Okay. All right. So let's move to question number 14. Now this question is about angle properties. It says that A, B, C, D, and E lie on a circle. FG is a tangent to the circle at C. So, okay, before I move to the next line, let's see. This is A, B, C, and D. If you have 4 points, okay, on the circumference and they're all connected together, so that gives us a cyclic quadrilateral. Okay, now because we have a cyclic quadrilateral, definitely you're going to now recall that okay, there was a property of cyclic quadrilateral that the opposite angles are supplementary. So what does that mean? The opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral add up to 180 degrees. Okay, then it says that FG is a tangent to the circle at C. So this is your FG and this is a tangent at point C. Angle BAD is 110 degrees, which is over here. Angle ADB is 20 degrees, which is over here. And angle BEC is 45 degrees, which is over here. Now it says find angle BCD. Always mark the angle which is required, okay? So angle BCD. Therefore, this is the angle that we need to find. All right. Now, as I mentioned, that this is a cyclic quadrilateral A, B, C, D. If I want to find this angle, I have the angle which is opposite to this. So here I'm going to use the property. And also it says that give a geometrical reason for your answer. Okay. So we know that angle BCD plus 110 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So therefore angle BCD will be equal to 180 minus 110, which is 70 degrees. Okay, because opposite angles in a cyclic quadrilateral are supplementary. Okay, make sure that your reason is very clear. Okay, the geometrical reason that you need to give should be clear, crystal clear. Okay, so that the examiner understands that you know how to deduce the answer and on what and on based on what geometrical property you have given your answer. Okay, then it says find angle DBC. Okay, also one more thing, very important. Whatever angles you're finding, make sure that you label them on the diagram as well, so that now you know that okay, this is the angle that I've already found. Okay, so that's a good practice. It helps you visualize better that okay, what angles I have and what more angles do I need to find. Now it says find the angle DBC. So DBC is this one, DBC. So this is the angle that we need to find now. Okay, so let's see. If I want to find this angle, okay, what I can see here is in order to find this angle, I don't have any direct property that could help me in identifying this. If I could somehow find this angle, then I can use the property that sum of angles in a triangle equals to 180, right? So how we can find this one, if you notice, from point B and point C, they both intersect. So let's say, just if you follow my pointer, they both go all the way up to point E, which is 45, and also is starting from B and C, they also meet at point D. So this angle will be equal to 45 degrees. And what is the property based on which we can deduce that? That angles in the same segment are equal. Okay, so this will be 45 degrees. Now we can easily find this angle. Okay, so what we can do is we can see that BCD, this is a triangle, and I already have two angles within a triangle, so I can find the third one. So the first thing is I'm going to write down that angle BDC is equal to 45 degrees. Okay, because angles in the same segment are equal. Then what we can do is we can say that 45 plus 70 plus angle DBC is equal to 180 degrees, and this is based on the property that sum of angles in a triangle equal 180 degrees. All right, so 45 plus 70, that is 105, 115, plus angle DBC equals to 180 degrees. So angle DBC will be 180 minus 115, and that should give us 65 degrees, right? So that will be 65 degrees. So now we also found out that this is 65 degrees. Then it says find angle DCG. Okay, what is DCG? DCG. So this is this angle, the angle between the tangent and the angle between a chord. Okay, now we have studied that we have studied about alternate segment theorem, right? So basically, according to alternate segment theorem, this angle between the tangent and the chord is equal to the angle that this chord makes with the within a point at the circumference, right? So basically, you can see that from D and C, if I extend both of these lines, okay, so the angle that they make is 65. This is equal to this angle as well. So they both are same. So this will also be 65 degrees, and we can say alternate segment theorem. All right, let's move to question number 15. Point A has coordinates minus 4, 1, and BA has the column vector minus 5, minus 12. Okay, find the coordinates of point B. So the coordinates of A are always, so the coordinates of any point are taken relative to the origin, right? So if I were to write this down in terms of vectors, so I know that the vector OA will be equal to minus 4, 1. Okay, now I need to find the coordinates of B, and I have been given the vector BA. So we know that the vector BA is equal to OA minus OB. Since I need to find OB, so let's rearrange this. So this becomes OA minus BA. So once we have got this, now we can subtract the column vectors. So minus 5 minus minus 5. So that would give me 1, and 1 minus minus 12, that would give me 13. So my column vector is 1, 13. So the coordinates are going to be 1, 13 as well. Then it says that point C has coordinates 5, -2. Find the vector CA. So when it says it has coordinates as such, so we can say OC is 5, -2. And if it wants us to find vector CA, that would be vector OA minus OC. Okay. So basically, how do I know this? This is the general form that when you have a vector, so that is actually the second letter, okay, is written first over here. Then the first letter, it comes second, and there's a subtraction between them. Okay. Now OA is again -4, 1, minus -5. Oh, sorry, my bad. The coordinates are 5 and -2. So that would be -4 minus 5, which is -9, and 1 minus -2, that means 1 plus 2, which is 3. So the column vector is going to be -9, 3. Then it says the vector EF is equal to 3 times the vector BA. Find the magnitude of the vector EF. Okay. So first we need to find what the vector EF is. So that is 3 times BA. Okay, so BA was 113. So that will be 339. And since we need to find the magnitude of the vector EF is 3 squared plus 39 squared under root. Okay. Now the square of 39. Just a minute. Let me check something. Okay, my bad. BA was actually -5 minus 12. Okay, sorry about that. So let me write this over here. EF is 3 times BA, right? Which was -5 minus 12. Okay, so now this becomes -15 minus 36. Okay, now, so since EF is -15 times -36, okay, so now we need to find the magnitude of EF, right? So the magnitude of EF will be -15 whole square plus -36 whole square under root. Okay. Now, clearly, these values are quite big enough because you're also not allowed to use calculator in this case, right? So there has to be a different way that we can do this. So let me see. The magnitude of EF is what we need to find. So EF is equal to 3 times BA, and the coordinates of BA are -5 and -12. Okay. So if I were to find the magnitude of BA only, okay. So instead of doing this, because this is going to be quite lengthy, right? So we need to look for an efficient way. The vector EF is equal to 3 times the vector BA. Okay, so we can also say that the magnitude of EF will be equal to 3 times the magnitude of BA. Okay, because remember that these vectors are scalar multiples of each other, right? So they're in the same direction, and the only difference between them is one of the vectors is going to be longer than the other, right? The length, if I were to draw a line, so one length is going to be longer than the other one. So that means the magnitude of EF is supposed to be 3 times more than the magnitude of BA. Okay, so if I were to work out the magnitude of BA, so that would be minus 5 whole square plus minus 12 whole square under root. Okay, so this is 25 plus 144. This gives us 169. Okay, and that is equal to 13. Okay, so the square root of 169 is 13. So now if the magnitude of BA is 13, therefore the magnitude of EF would be 3 times 13, which is equal to 39. So that's your answer. All right, so let's move to question number 16 now. All right, the stem and leaf diagrams show the mass of each of 13 packets. Work out the interquartile range. Okay, so the interquartile range is given by upper quartile minus lower quartile. Okay, now upper quartile is calculated as 3 over 4 times n plus 1. Okay, so in our case, this will be 3 upon 4 times, uh, it becomes 14, right? 13 plus 1, that is 14. So if I simplify this, this becomes 21 over 2, which is 10.5. Okay, now what does 10.5 actually tell you? This is the position. Okay, 10.5th position. So if I look over here, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so 10.5th position basically means that you need to take the average value of, you need to take the mean of 51 and 52. Okay, so the upper quartile is equal to 51 plus 52 divided by 2, which will be equal to 51.5. So that's your upper quartile. Okay, now for lower quartile, we have 1/4 of n plus 1. So that is 1 over 4 times 14, which will be again, you have 2, this is 7. 7 upon 2, that is 3.5. So this is 3.5th position. So the lower quartile is going to be the difference between the value at third position, which is over here, and fourth position. So this is 38 and this is 40. So 38 plus 40 divided by 2 equals to 39. So when you take the mean value, so you can see that the mean is actually exactly center of these two values, which is 51.5. And similarly, the exact center of 38 and 40, that is 39. So that's how you decide even without using calculator. Okay. So now the interquartile range would therefore be 51.5 minus 39. Okay, so that would be, let me calculate over here. So that will be 5. This is 4. This is 11. 11 minus 9 is 2, and that's 1. So that will be 12.5. Then it says that two of these packets are chosen at random. Okay, find the probability that the one packet has a mass of more than 50 grams. So one packet has mass of more than 50 grams. The other has mass less than 50 grams. Okay, so you have chosen two packets at random and you need to find the probability that one of them has a mass greater than 50 grams and the other has a mass of less than 50 grams. Okay, so we can say probability 1, or we can say that probability that mass is less than 50 and mass is greater than 50, because you can write one mass and one mass. but still it doesn't matter even if you don't write it. Okay, so let's say that if I need to see that how many packets have mass more than 50. Okay, so I'm going to write that down first. Number of packets with mass greater than 50 grams. So let's see how many packets are there that have mass greater than 50. So these are 4 packets. You can see 51, 52, 53, and 54. So now how do we read this stem and leaf diagram? If you are a bit confused, okay, so you can see that there's a key given here. So here 3 and 1. So here 3, this is the stem, and these are the leaves. Okay, so when it is talking about 3 and 1, that is representing 31 grams. If it is about 3 and 2, that is 32 grams. If it is about, let's say, 4 and 8, so that is 48 grams, and so on. Okay, so how many packets are there which whose mass is greater than 50? That is 4. So the probability that the first one whose mass is greater than 50 will be 4 divided by 13. 13 is the total number of packets, and 4 is the number of packets whose mass is greater than 50. Multiplied, because when you're choosing 2 packets at random, right? So they will be multiplied. Okay. The next one is, now we need to find the other packet whose mass is less than 50. So number of packets, let me write this down here as well. Number of packets with mass less than 50 grams. So that will be 13, which is the total number of packets, minus 4 equals to 9. So if out of 13 packets, 4 have mass greater than 50, then the remaining would be 9, whose mass would be less than 50. So here we are going to write 9, but be careful. One packet has already been chosen, and that is without replacement. So this time it's going to be 12. Out of 12, now the probability is going to be 9, right? 9 out of 12. But there's also one more thing. You don't know that the first packet that you're going to pick, is that packet greater than 50 or is that packet less than 50? So there could be two possible outcomes. The first one is that, let's say, the first packet that you picked was greater than 50, but the second one was less than 50. Whereas the other outcome could be that the first one is less than 50 grams and the second packet is greater than 50. So I'm going to multiply this with 2, because there are two possible ways that the selection could be done. Okay, now this is a complete calculation of probability. So you can say that probability is equal to this. So now what we can do is we can do simplification first. Over here it becomes 6, this becomes 1, this 6 and this 9. So here we have 3, here we have 2. This 2 cancels with this 4, so you have 2. Okay, now after all the cancellation, what's left is 2 times 3, which is 6, and in denominator you have 13. So the probability is going to be 6 over 13. All right, let's come to question number 17. Work out 5 over 9 plus 0.28 recurring. Give your answer as a fraction in its simplest form. So here, usually the questions that have come in the past, they only talk about one of them. Like, for example, he might only give you 0.28 recurring, and then he's going to ask you that, okay, convert this into fraction. But this time they have given you a question that involves the addition. Before we can add them, first we need to convert 0.28 into fraction. So what I'm going to do is, first I'm going to say that let x is equal to 0.2888, and so on. Okay, make sure that your alignment with the next ones is the same as this one. If I multiply 10 on both sides, So what's going to happen? The decimal point is going to shift. So now it becomes 2.888888. Okay, so it is still continued. So you can see if I subtract them, because now my main objective is that I need to get rid of all of these eights, right? But if I subtract, so let's say this is 1 and this is 2. If I subtract 2 minus 1, I won't be able to get rid of all the decimals. Okay, so what I can do is I'm going to multiply this with 100 on both sides. So this time I have 28.8888 and so on. Now if I subtract 3 minus 2, so what's going to happen? 100x minus 10x equals 28 minus 2. What happened to the rest of the decimals? They all got cancelled out, because this 8 is being continued for both of them, right? So when you subtract them, it'll all turn to 0. So this becomes 90x equals to 26. X is equal to 26 over 90. If I divide, or let's say if I just leave it like that, okay. And now what we have to do is we need to work out 5 upon 9 plus 0.28 recurring. So we can say 5 over 9 plus 26 over 90. I can multiply this with 10 and multiply this with 10. So I'm going to get 50 over 90 plus 26 over 90. This becomes 76 over 90. Now, because the question clearly says that you need to give your answer in its simplest form, so we are going to divide this by 2. 76 divided by 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. That is 1. 6 comes down. 2 times 8 is 16. So the answer is going to be 38, and 90 divided by 2, that is 45. So 38 over 45, that is your final answer. Okay. Now let's move to question number 18. The quadrilateral ACDE, okay, ACDE is formed by two right-angled triangles ABE and BCD. ABE and BCD. AC is 17 centimeters, AE is 18 centimeters, okay, and BD is 6 centimeters. Show that CD is equal to 10 centimeters. Okay, so CD is this length over here. So before we can find this length, we need to know that what is this length, right? Because if I'm to calculate the length of CD, then I can use Pythagoras theorem, but only if I know what BC is. I know that what is AC. So if I can somehow find out what AB is, I can subtract 17 minus AB. That would give me the length of this one, BC. And subsequently, I can find out the length of CD using Pythagoras theorem. So that means our first objective is to work out the length of AB. Now, if you look over here, triangle ABE, you have an angle and you have a length given to you. So this is 90 degree. This is my hypotenuse, and this is my adjacent, and this is my opposite. Okay, the whole thing, BE. So because I want to find adjacent and I have hypotenuse, I'm going to use cos 60 is equal to adjacent, which is AB, divided by hypotenuse, which is 18. Now, you might be a little bit shocked if you are unaware that how can trigonometry how can trigonometric questions come into this paper, because you're not allowed to use calculators. Okay. Now, understand one thing very clearly. There is a part of your syllabus that states that you need to know the exact trig ratios of 0 degrees, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and 90 degrees. And you need to know these values for all of these functions: sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta. So what do I mean by that? You should know what is sine of 0, what is sine of 30, what is sine of 45, what is sine of 60, what is sine of 90. Similarly, what is cos of 0 and all the way until 90. So you are supposed to memorize these values. Okay. Now there are different ways that you can memorize this. Okay. So if you are confused, so you can use something called the hand trick. Okay, you can search that on YouTube using the hand trick to remember the exact trig ratios, and you'll see that that's a pretty cool trick actually, and it's very easy to remember as well. So you can try that out. Okay. Now, cos of 60 is actually half. This is 1 upon 2 equals to AB over 18. 18 multiplies on the other side, so that is 18 upon 2, which is equal to 9 centimeters. Now we know that AB is 9 centimeters. We can work out BC. BC is equal to 17 minus 9, which is equal to 8 centimeters. Okay. Now that we have found what BC is, we know what is BD, we can find out CD. So I'm going to say, using Pythagoras theorem, BC square plus BD square is equal to CD square. Okay, so BC square is going to be 8 squared, BD squared is equal to 6 squared equals to CD squared. This will be 64 plus 36, and you can take the square root to give us CD. So I can say that CD is equal to 64 plus 36, that is root of 100, which is equal to 10 centimeters. Okay, now because it tells you, it has already given you the answer, make sure that you show all of these steps. Every single step is important. All right, then it says find the perimeter of the quadrilateral ACDE and give your answer in the form P plus Q root, P plus K root Q. So we need to find the perimeter of quadrilateral ACDE. So A to C, that is 17, C to D, that is 10 centimeters. Okay, and A to E, that is 18. So the only problem is that I don't have this value, which is ED. So this is what I need to find out. So what we can do here is, we have already used the trigonometric ratio once, right? We can also use it again. The first time that we used was to find the adjacent, but this time we can use it to find the opposite side. Okay. Also, you can use Pythagoras theorem as well. You can use Pythagoras to work out what is BE, and then from BE you can subtract 6 centimeter. That would give you ED. Okay, so we can use both the approaches. Both of them are valid approaches. So let's say that I'm using the trigonometric method. So this time it's going to be sine 60, because I need to find opposite BE. Okay, and I have been given hypotenuse. So that will be BE over 18. Now sine 60 is root 3 upon 2 equals BE over 18. When I multiply 18 on the other side, I would get 18 root 3 divided by 2, which is equal to 9 root 3. Okay, now that is BE, but we are not interested in BE. What we are interested in is the length ED. So I'm going to subtract 6 centimeter from BE. ED is equal to 9 root 3 minus 6. That's your length. Okay. Now we need to find out what the perimeter is. So perimeter will be starting from A, that is 17 plus 10 plus ED. So ED is 9 root 3 minus 6 plus 18. Now we're going to simplify this. 17 plus 10, that is 27. 27 minus 6, that is 21. And 21 plus 18 is going to give us 39. So 39 plus 9 root 3. That's your answer to this question. Okay. Now the second way that you can do this is you can find BE using Pythagoras theorem, because we already found the adjacent, right? The adjacent was 8 centimeter, I think. 9 centimeter, sorry. 9 centimeter was AB. So you know that this is 9, and you know that the other length is 18. So you can do 18 square minus 9 square under root, and that should give you 9 root 3 again. Okay. Obviously, here you have to do some more simplifications. You have to apply the rules of surds in order to reach this answer. Okay, but that's how you can do this as well. All right, question number 19. In the Venn diagram, shade the region A union B union C whole complement. Okay. Now, if I just forget about complement for a sec, what you can see here is A union B union C. That means all of this, right? All of these circles. That is A union B union C. Union means addition, right? But since there's a complement, that means everything other than this. The complement is actually the opposite of this, right? So everything other than this part would mean everything which is outside these circles, everything within the box, but outside the circles. So make sure that you shade all of these points, and none of the points should enter the circle. Okay. All right. Now it says question number 20, simplify root 300 plus root 48. Okay. So I can write 300 as 300 multiplied by 100 plus 48 can be written as. Now, how do I know that, okay, this is what I need to write down? What you have to do is you need to consider the factors of 300. And in those factors, you need to find out which one is the highest square factor. Okay, the highest factor, which is a square number. So from the factors of 300, we know that 3 times 100 is equal to 300, and 100 is a square number. Okay, so that's why I have written this down over here. Similarly, 48, if I were to multiply, so let's say that factors of 48 are 1 times 48, 2 times 24, 3 times 48 divided by 3. So 3 ones are 3, and that is 18. So that should be 16, right? 3 times 16. Now 16 is the highest square number so far. So that's why I'm going to take this. So what I can do is I can write 48 as 3 times 16. I think what I can do here is write 100 first, multiply by 3, and over here write 16 first, multiply by 3 under root. Now, according to rules of surds, what we can do is we can split the square root like this. Plus square root of 16 times the square root of 3. The square root of 100 is going to give you 10. So this is 10 root 3 plus square root of 16 is 4. So 4 root 3, that equals 14 root 3. So the addition of this is going to be just like 10x plus 4x, provided that the number that you have under the root is same in both of them. So you can directly add them up, just like how we add 10x and 4x. Okay, the next one is rationalize the denominator and simplify. Okay, so rationalization basically means that you need to get rid of the square root from the denominator. So how do we do that? 9 over 2 plus root 7. So you multiply by 2 minus root 7, and as well as over here 2 minus root 7. So this becomes 9 times 2 is 18. Okay, and 9 times minus root 7, that is minus 9 root 7. Whereas over here 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times minus root 7, that is minus 2 root 7. Then positive root 7 multiplied by 2, that gives us 2 root 7, and root 7 times minus root 7. So when you have root 7 times root 7, so basically what does that mean? The roots, they cancel out, right? So you'll be left with 7. But here one of them is positive, the other is negative, so I'm going to be left with minus 7. Okay, so this becomes 18 minus 9 root 7 over 2 minus 2 root 7 and positive 2 root 7, they'll be cancelled out. 4 minus 7, that is minus 3. Okay, now what I can do here is I can take 3 common. Okay, I can take 3 common over here, or what we can do is we can actually take 9 common over here. So this becomes 2 minus root 7 over minus 3. So 3 and minus 3, they'll be cancelled out. So I will be left with minus 3 times 2 minus root 7. Got it? So this is the answer to this question. Also, there's one more way that you can express this. If you don't like this minus outside, what you can do is you can take this minus inside. Okay, you can multiply this minus inside. So I will be left with 3 times. This becomes minus 2 plus root 7. So now if I just rearrange it, I would get root 7 minus 2. So that is another way of expressing your answer. But if you leave your answer in this form, it's perfectly fine. Okay, because the question is not asking you to give your answer in a specific form. It just wants you to give an answer where you have rationalized the denominator. Question number 21. Write down the coordinates of the point where the graph y equals to 5x minus 3 crosses the y-axis. Crossing the y-axis means that x is equal to 0, because at y-axis the value of x is going to be 0. So that means y is equal to 5 times 0 minus 3. So that is equal to minus 3. So the coordinates will be 0, minus 3. Then in the next part it says A is the point 17 and B is the point 515. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of the line AB. Give your answer in the form y equals mx plus c. Now this question is related to coordinate geometry. It's a good practice that you draw a sketch of the graph. Okay. So since all my coordinates are positive, so I'll just draw the positive side of the axis. Now the first coordinate is 1 7. So 1 7 might be about over here somewhere. This is 1 and this is 7. That's your A. B is 5 15. So 5 and 15 might be around here somewhere. Okay. So this is 5 and this is 15. So this is my straight line AB. If I want to find a perpendicular bisector is a line that cuts exactly at the center and at 90 degrees to this line. So this is 90 degrees. Okay, so we need to find the equation of this red line because this is the perpendicular bisector. So the first thing, now remember that in an equation, if you want to find the equation of a straight line, you need two things. You need the gradient of that straight line, okay, and you need the y-intercept, okay. Now, in order to find the gradient, what I can do is I can find the gradient of the line that passes through AB, and then we know that if two lines are perpendicular to each other, then the product of their gradient is equal to -1. Okay, so we have m1 times m2 equals to -1. The product of both the gradients will be equal to -1. So we can use this property to work out what the gradient of our perpendicular bisector will be. So first I'm going to write down is the gradient of AB. So that will be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So y2 can be 15 minus 7 and 5 minus 1. So 15 minus 7 is going to be 8 over 4, which is equal to 2. Now, the gradient of the perpendicular bisector, okay, is -1 divided by 8. So that'll be -1 over 8. Basically, what we do is we take the negative reciprocal of our gradient. Okay, if let's say that you are a bit confused in this, no problem. Let me write down the full method over here. This is what we know, right? So m1 was 8 times m2 equals to -1. M divides on the other side. Sorry, 8 divides on the other side. So m2 is equal to -1 upon 8. So now I've found the gradient of my perpendicular bisector. In order to find the equation, or let's say if I want to find the y-intercept, I need to have one coordinate that passes through this line, so that so that I can substitute the y value and the x value, and hence we can find c. The only point, okay, that is relevant to us is this point where the intersection takes place. Remember, I told you that a perpendicular bisector passes exactly at the center. It cuts the line at center. That means that this point is going to be the midpoint M. Okay, so midpoint of AB is equal to x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma y1 plus y2 divided by 2. X1 is 1 and 5 is the x2 value, so that will be 1 plus 5 over 2, and y1 plus y2 is 7 plus 15 over 2. So 1 plus 5 is 6, 6 upon 2, that is 3. 7 plus 15, that is 22, and 22 divided by 2 is 11. Therefore, the midpoint is going to be 11, 311, sorry. Now we have our coordinate and we know the gradient. So we can see that our straight line equation is y equals mx plus c. Y is going to be 11. M is going to be -1 upon 8. X is 3 plus c. So c is going to be 11 plus 3 upon 8. Okay. Now we need to simplify this. So what we can do is I can multiply both of these with 8. So this becomes 88 over 8 plus 3 over 8. That gives us 91 over 8. Okay, let me check something. Oh, okay, my bad. The gradient over here is this is 2, right? So this should be -1 upon 2. Okay, and similarly, so this is 2, and therefore our gradient should be -1 upon 2. So let me do some corrections over here. So this is going to be 2, and over here this is also 2. So now this becomes 22 upon 2 plus 3 upon 2, which is 25 upon 2. So that's my y-intercept. Okay, that's more reasonable value. So therefore my equation is going to be y equals to mx, which is minus half x, plus c, which is 25 upon 2. So this is the equation of the perpendicular bisector. Okay, it says that in question number 22, a curve has equation y equals x cubed plus x squared minus x. The curve has a stationary point at 1 upon 3 and minus 5 over 27. Find the coordinates of the other stationary point. Okay, so the most important information about a stationary point is that the gradient function at the stationary point is equal to 0. Okay, because let's say that if I have a curve, this is a cubic curve, right? So the turning point or the stationary point are basically the maximum and the minimum points of a curve. So if I were to draw a tangent at this point, let's say, okay, so I do have a certain value of gradient. Okay, if let's say that I'm going to draw a gradient over here, I still have some significant value of my gradient. But if I were to, oops, that's not good. Let me draw that again. If I were to find the gradient at exactly the maximum point and the minimum point, okay, so let's say if I draw a straight line, so you can see that the gradient is actually 0. There is no change in y. The value of y is the same. So if you know what is gradient, change in y over change in x, right? If the change in y is equal to 0, that means your gradient is also equal to 0, regardless of what the change in x is. Even if there is a change of 100, doesn't really matter. So therefore the gradient function is equal to 0 at the stationary point. So now how do we find the gradient function? We know that y is equal to x cubed plus x squared minus x. So dy dx is equal to 3x squared. You multiply the power and then subtract 1 from the power. You multiply the power with the coefficient of x, so this also becomes 2x, and then you subtract 1 from the power, so 2 minus 1 is 1. And over here you multiply the power with the coefficient, so that will be 1, and you subtract the power by 1, so 1 minus 1, that gives you x to the power of 0, which is equal to 1. Okay, so now this is my gradient function. I know that at a stationary point dy dx is equal to 0. So therefore I can say that 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. Okay, now we can factorize this. Okay, we can say 3x minus 2x, or actually minus x, minus 1 equals to 0. So the factors that we need are 3 and minus 1. So if I take 3x common, I would be left with x plus 1. If I take minus 1 common, again I would be left with x plus 1 equals to 0. X plus 1, now here we are factorizing x plus 1. So x plus 1 is common and we would be left with 3x minus 1 equals to 0. So that means x plus 1 is equal to 0 and 3x minus 1 is equal to 0. So x is equal to minus 1, and over here 3x is equal to 1, therefore x is equal to 1 upon 3. So this is the value of first stationary point, right? The x coordinate of the first stationary point. We need to find the coordinates of the other stationary point. So that means I'm interested in this one. Now I've found the x coordinate. Now I need to find the y coordinate. So the equation of y is x cubed plus x squared minus x. So now I'm going to substitute the value. The cube of minus 1 is minus 1. The square of minus 1 is positive 1. And minus times minus 1, that will give us positive 1. So this minus 1 and this positive 1 cancels out. So y equals to 1. Okay. So therefore, the coordinates of the other stationary point will be minus 1 and 1. All right, now it says by sketching the graph of y equals to x cubed plus x squared minus x, determine whether the stationary point 1 over 3 comma minus 5 over 27 is a maximum or a minimum. Now there are different ways to do this, but like if you want to determine whether the gradient, sorry, whether the stationary point is a maximum or a minimum, there are various methods that you can use, but they have specifically asked that we need to sketch the graph. Okay, all right. So what we know about these turning points is that, let's say, one of the turning points is 1 over 3, which is around 0.333. So that should be about over here. And minus 5 over 27. So that should be about here somewhere. So let's say that this is my first turning point. Okay, because these are the coordinates. The second turning point, or the second stationary point that we found out, was minus 1 comma 1. So minus 1 and 1, that should be about somewhere here. This is just an estimate, right? Because we are sketching the graph. All right. So now we have already got these 2 points, right? So that basically tells us that the graph is going to go all the way here. Then it's going to turn. Now we need to see whether the graph passes through the origin. So if x is equal to 0, does y also equal to 0? The answer is yes, because we can write this here as well. At x is equal to 0, y is also equal to 0. That would give us this another point. Okay, and now because I have this point, let me just sketch this point a little bit over here. So now the graph or the curve, it passes all the way here, and that's how the shape should look like. Okay, now how do I know that the graph is supposed to look like this? The graph could also look like this, right? So there are two ways, right? The graph could either look like this, or the graph could also look like this. The thing is that in order to determine the shape, you need to see the coefficient of x cube. If the coefficient of x cube is positive, okay, the shape of the graph is going to be something like this, like an N. And if the coefficient of x cube is negative, then it's going to look like something. Is going to look like this, something like this. All right. So that should be the sketch. So here we should label the points. Now this one is okay. 1 upon 3 and minus 5 over 27 is this one. So from the sketch, what we can say that this is a minimum, okay, because it's lying over here. So we can say 1 over 3 comma minus 5 over 27. That's my coordinate of this stationary point, whereas the coordinate of this stationary point is minus 1 1. This is a maximum and this is a minimum. All right. Now it says the equation x cubed plus x squared minus x is equal to k. Now this is the same as our equation, isn't it? So we can say that y is equal to k. Now k is a constant. Find the range of possible sorry, it says that y equals to k has fewer than 3 solutions. So let's say that if I draw a line, let me extend the graph a little bit. If I draw a line somewhere over here, for example, So you can see that this straight line, this is, let's say, y equals to k. This straight line is intersecting the curve at 3 points, 1, 2, and 3. So there will be three solutions. But we want the value of k to be such that the solutions that we get are actually less than 3. So if I were to draw a line at the maximum and a line at the minimum, so how many solutions can we see if the line is exactly at the maximum and exactly at the minimum? We can see that we have two solutions for each one of the lines. One is at the stationary point. So for example, this line, one of the solutions is at maximum, the other is over here. Whereas for the other one, we have one solution at the minimum, the other is over here. What if I draw a line above the stationary point and over here below the stationary point, below the minimum? So here we have one solution and also here we have one solution. So that still agrees with what the question has asked us. He's interested in fewer than three solutions. So that could include two solutions, that could also include one solution. That means our answer is going to be, in terms of inequality, the value of k, okay, because k is actually the value of y, right? So over here, the value of k could be greater than 1, greater than or equal to 1, or it should be less than or equal to minus 5 over 27. So I can say that k should be greater than or equal to 1, comma, k should be less than or equal to minus 5 over 27. All right. So this is the range of values. All right. Also, okay, find the range of possible values of k. So, all right. So we have written that k is less than or equal to minus 5 over 27, right? So that considers all the values which are below minus 5 over 27. Okay. And for the second one, okay, for the second one, the value of k should be greater than 1. So that will take into account all the values greater than or equal to 1, sorry. That will take into account all the solutions, okay, which are above or at the stationary points. Okay, so all of them will give us fewer than 3 solutions. Okay, all right. So finally, the last question is question number 23. So it says simplify this expression. All right, so let's take a look. We have x squared over 4 to the power of 3 upon 2. So when we have a power outside the bracket and a power inside the bracket, so those powers multiplied. Okay, divided by 4 times 3 upon 2. So this 2 and this 2 will cancel out. So that will give us x cubed divided by. Now over here, what we can do, we can first take, because 4 to the power of 3 upon 2 is actually 4 to the power of half multiplied by 3. We can write this in this form. 4 to the power half is square root of 4 multiplied by, was like whatever the answer is, that will be cubed. Okay, not multiplied, sorry. Whatever the answer is, that will be cubed. Square root of 4 is 2 and 2 cubed is equal to 8. So that means this will be 8. So our answer is going to be x cubed upon 8. All right. Now, finally, we have 16 to the power of x multiplied by 1 over 2 to the power of x equals 4 to the power x plus 3. Okay. So I think for some reason it's hanging a little bit. Just a minute. Okay. So 16 to the power x times 1 over 2 to the power of x. So what we can do is, if I just, let's say the first step is that I write 1 upon 2 as 2 to the power of minus 1 multiplied by x equals to 4 to the power x plus 3. You know what we can do here is, because it's hanging a little bit, so maybe I'll open it in a different window. All right, so we can solve it here. All right, and also I think I need to close this file because this is what's causing problems. We can leave this. All right, so hopefully now we won't have any problems. All right, so now 16 to the power of x. Okay, so let me write this down here. I was supposed to reduce the thickness actually. All right, 16 to the power of x multiplied by 2 to the power minus 1 to the power of x is equal to 4 to the power x plus 3. Now, if I want to do something meaningful, I need to find x, right? So the basis of all these indices, they should be the same. I have to make sure that the the base is actually the same. So 16 can be written as 2 to the power of 4 to the power x. Then this x multiplies with minus 1. So you get 2 to the power minus x. And 4 can be written as 2 squared to the power x plus 3. So this becomes 2 to the power 4x multiplied by 2 to the power of minus x equals to 2 to the power of 2x plus 6, because this 2 multiplies with x and this 2 multiplies with 3. Okay, now we can write this into one single into one single index. So we can, what we have here is, we can combine the base. Since there's a positive sign, so the powers are going to add 4x plus minus x. That would be 2 to the power 3x equals to 2 to the power 2x plus 6. Okay. Now, since the bases are exactly the same, that means that these indices should also be, these powers should also be equal. So 3x is equal to 2x plus 6. When 2x goes to the other side, you will be left with x. So x is equal to 6. Okay. So that is the end of our exam paper of March 2022. So I hope that this work solution was helpful, and we'll be doing some couple of more past papers as well in the next videos. So stay tuned. Till then, take care. Assalamu alaikum.